From Los Angeles and Nashville, get ready to go behind the scenes with Entertainment Dudes. What happens when you pair a director, a voice actor in a world, and some of the most interesting people in entertainment? You're about to find out.
Yes, we're recording.
It says that. Started recording.
It says started recording. Awesome. That means that it is time for another fun and, I was going to say frivolous, but it's not frivolous.
No, because we're never
Fun
frivolous. We're
no.
on purpose. Everything that we do. I was hoping this. He's. Welcome to Entertainment Dudes. I'm your host, Jason Crosswood, director dude, and this
And I'm
to my
Cam Cornelius, the voiceover dude, and you look especially ravishing and muscular today, Jason.
Well, I've been working out. I knew we had a very, very important interview today. Someone we brought onto the show. You'll really be excited. So I thought I'd get ready. How do I look?
I didn't get the memo. Your tie's a little bit
It was a little
off.
Oh,
Yeah, there we go. So
Thank you.
You dressed up.
I dressed up. I brought my my furs.
Okay,
I'm wearing furs.
Hold on. I feel a little left out here.
Oh, you did bring a jacket.
Did. Okay.
Yes.
There we go. Yes.
Now we're ready. If we're gonna have an
Now we're
attorney on
ready.
the show, we literally have
I
to.
know.
Okay. Hang on.
Okay. Wait.
All right, here, buddy.
There we go. Woo. Our guest today, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to go through his entire resume because it's too long. So we'll just have to start off with lawyer, actor, producer, director. He's been on networks such as HBO, Discovery ID, PBS, NBC, ABC, the CW, and he's voiced for clients like the LA Dodgers, Mountain Dew, the CIA, AT&T, Doritos, and he's the author of the indispensable book. I can tell you this from personal experience. Voiceover
Legal.
This is Mr. Let's bring him in.
Yeah, we were
Yes.
actually wondering not about your last name. How do you say your first name? Is
Yeah,
it
Robert?
Rubert or Robarte?
Robert.
Robert
Yes.
Sciglimpaglia.
Robert Sciglimpaglia.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a really, that first name's a stumper. I mean, Cam and I
yeah.
sat here like, how does he even say that? Robert. Okay, Robert. Well, I'm sorry you had to see what you had to see. My cat decides when the show starts. I don't know why he didn't have to do this earlier, but we're really excited to have you on the show. As anyone who's just joining for the first time, Entertainment Dudes, we talk about everything that has to do with entertainment. We've had voiceover people, directors, actors, voiceover agents, and today we have a very, very special guest who's going to talk to us about not only just the legal side of entertainment law and of business, but also just what it's like to be the balance straddling the two, because you're also a talent. Yeah, a talent. Yep. I guess like acting actually translates to the courtroom. I guess if you have to go there, you might as well use your acting there. Is that what happened? You're like, I'm a doggone good actor. I should try this.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. Definitely the skills cross over for sure. So, I mean. Not exactly, but a lot of the same skills.
We see the fingers crossed. No, never. I don't use that.
I mean, you're telling your client's story just like you're telling the author's story. That's that for sure. I mean, that's 100%. So it's but there's a little more at stake in a courtroom than
Correct.
there is on a set. So most of the time.
Most of the time. So. I like to start off with a very important question, and maybe I can get your professional legal advice on this. If you could go back today and suddenly you were 28 years old again, 28-year-old body, 28-year-old feeling, but you would forget everything that you'd learned up to this point, would you do it?
No.
Me either.
Me either.
So we're trying to say, if you have a time machine that takes you back in time, but you actually go back to you're 28 when you get there, I was like, I don't know if it's worth it. It's not worth the trip.
No, my body hasn't changed that much over the 20 years.
That's what I tell myself too. I'm exactly the same as I was when I was 28. Go ahead, Cam. Sorry.
Rob, how did you end up where you are, a practicing lawyer and doing all this in the entertainment industry? Like how do you end up balancing that?
Yeah, so I started doing voiceovers 16 years ago. So I
So
was
it wasn't
a lawyer
something
first.
you grew up doing, yeah.
Not voiceovers, but I was a DJ. I was always the techie kind of electronic guy. I always wanted to do acting, but I just never had the courage enough to do it. You know what I mean? So, and back when we were growing up, acting was sissy stuff. You know what I mean? I was an athlete, so I played baseball and football, and that we always made fun of the of the people,
The drama nerds.
Right. Exactly, right. So, but I always secretly wanted to do it. So, like, I always liked it, and so that's why I would do the videotaping, the soundboard, whatever. So, and then I was a DJ in college. So one day, I when I was practicing law, I was like, you know what, I'm in a rut, and I got to try something more. I want to pursue that acting a little bit. So, I just was flipping through an adult ed magazine, and I saw a class on voiceover, introductory voiceover, and I took it. And from that point forward, I was like, I want to do this. I knew it was something I wanted to do. So that class confirmed it. And then, from there, I took a lot more classes, and did my demo, and, just started auditioning like crazy and making contacts. And I had represented musical acts when I first started practicing law. So I had a little bit of networking in the entertainment arena. So I knew a little bit about the business. So that gave me a decent head start. So, so that's how I melded the two professions. And then I wrote the book. The book came out soon after, 6 or 7 years after that. I wrote the book because people would actors and voiceover artists knew I was an attorney, so they would always ask me legal questions. So I started writing all those questions down, and those questions, the common questions are each chapter of the book. That's how. And then I put real life examples in there too, and that's how the book was born. So.
Did you ever see yourself as being an author? Or was that just something that, like voiceover, you're like, you know what, this is pretty important. I actually want to do this too.
Well, I always loved doing creative writing and taking creative writing classes and things in college. So, I could have seen myself being an author. And but it's just funny because like the voice talent and actors know me as the lawyer. I'm the attorney, and my attorney friends know me as the actor. So the irony of the whole thing, it's so funny. So.
Straddling the line. Well, what's pretty interesting, having the I'm trying to think of just in directing. I've also done a lot of behind the camera. I've also done acting. And so understanding the director who knows acting and has been acting, you have a communication that you can't have. Like you have a new appreciation, understanding that you can't get just from only being a director.
Right.
Do you find that's the same? Obviously, you're in the talent, you're doing it. You're creative, and you also do the business part. So how helpful has that been? And how much more do you feel like you're able to connect now, even more?
Oh, it's amazingly helpful because, I know what talent are going through. I know what how they're struggling. And I know on the business side, about, I would never, like, for instance, I would never ask an actor to work for free. The minimum, any production that I do, the minimum that I'd ask them is to do a deferred pay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least I'd ask. So,
what's deferred pay, just for those who don't know?
So deferred pay means that they're not going to get paid necessarily right after the production, but they're going to get paid at some point when we put it out.
Mm-hmm.
So once it gets released, then they'll get their payment then.
Yeah, so when the film gets picked up or bought, or the show gets bought, then whatever compensation comes in, their percentage they get, or whatever the agreed pay was, they get it.
Yeah, it's either a percentage or I'll work on a rate ahead of time as to what they're going to get paid. So, but that's the least and those are usually for the smaller projects,
smaller productions. Yeah, and
it's usually for things that I know that that's like the actor's going to get something out of it anyway because it's a really great part.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they're like, I want to do this, so, but I wouldn't, I know I don't want to take advantage of talent in any way, because I understand what they're going through. I understand the struggles, and I picked that up from the business side of the acting world. So,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know,
So if you're an actor and anyone offers you that, there is a chance. What's the risk? There is a risk for you because you're taking a chance that the film doesn't get picked up, it doesn't get sold. But I think at that same time, if you really love the role, if you really enjoy the characters, if you're vibing with what's being created and you're willing to take that risk on the event that I think this thing could be successful, that's a choice that you get to make as an actor. Is it something you're willing to do, even if it doesn't make money? But if it does and it sells, fantastic, you get something. I just think that's something to consider if someone makes an offer like that for you to be in a film.
yeah, and actually, I can add to that too, because
Please, yes.
so it's not, and when I offer deferred, it's pretty much guaranteed, because
Nice.
most of the time I have distribution already set up ahead of time, or I know where it's
Important.
going ahead of time.
Yep.
So, or I know it's going to go on a festival run.
Uh-huh.
So that they know that that maybe not get paid, but they know they're gonna get. I already tell them you're gonna get all these. Look, all the festivals that we're gonna go to, So they're taking much less of a risk, because
Nice.
I know, like, I'm not one of these filmmakers that just make the film and put it out and see where it goes. I work backwards, so I'll have a letter from a distributor already, or I know I'm going to put it up on Prime, or I know it's going to go festival, and then it's going to go Prime after. So even if I put it up. If I put it into a festival, it's still going to go on Prime. So they're going to get their money. It's just a matter of when. It's not if. So
that's great. Well, I guess that really segues into something I wanted to ask you, which I think is very fascinating in film. And the more I get into directing, and the more I learn about the industry, and the more things we work on, there's a huge part of production and things that happen in Hollywood that involve an attorney. Many people don't know that attorneys actually package deals and put them together. They know people in the industry. They know the financiers. They know the bankers. They know the actors. They know. So do you do that? I mean, you do film finance and you work in that. Can you talk a little bit about how that process works, especially since most people don't even know it exists?
Sure. Yeah, this is the snowball building part of the business, the puzzle part of the business.
Yeah,
because there packaging it involves getting your distribution, getting your talent, maybe doing some foreign pre-sales, so you can get the money. You can either borrow the money, and sometimes you need to get someone to put equity in so that you can finance it, and then hire your actors, and then sell the project overseas to get the money to do get the budget to do the film. So all these pieces have to come together, and this is where it's challenging. So this is like it's a project by project thing. So what do you do? Do you get distribution first? Do you get your actors first? Every project's different. Sometimes projects will come in with talent already attached, and then it makes it a little easier. Sometimes projects will come in with distribution already set up, so that makes it a little easier. But you have to get all those things to line up. So basically, when an attorney or when a producer is packaging a deal, they're getting all those pieces put together. They're getting the talent lined up. They're getting distribution lined up. They're getting their foreign pre-sales in place. They're figuring out where they're going to shoot so they can get the tax credits. Mm-hmm. They're figuring out where they're going to finance. What bank's going to finance and how, for what percentage. They're looking for equity investors, maybe to put up a little money to, because many banks will want to see like at least 20% put up.
Can you include tax incentives from a state as part of that for a bank? Like New York right now, upstate, it's almost 40% to shoot a film. A lot of people don't know that. So that can count for a bank, right, as the tax credits.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Which is why picking where you shoot so important.
Yes, the tax incentives, the bank loans, foreign pre-sales. That's all the soft money. That's what they call soft money. That's usually makes up 80% of the up to 80% of the budget. And then the hard money is the equity. That's when an investor will come in and say, here's $1 million. And so if you get $1 million, you can borrow another 4 off with that $1 million, with all those other soft money to get 5. So sometimes you can shoot the film with the 4, and you don't even need to touch the equity. The equity will just sit there, in an account. But all those pieces that's the packaging. So a lot of attorneys have relationships with agencies some of the bigger agencies so that they can get all the talent that they know, the name talent that they need right with that agency. And, the agency obviously will get their commissions. And that's the reason why they want to partner up with a producer and attorney. Attorneys have relationships with foreign salespeople and distributors so that they can do the foreign sales, and they can also bounce the idea of what talent they want for that fits their script, to find out if what their worth is, if they're bankable. So because they're the ones that are going to drive those sales, those foreign sales. Yeah. So that's something else. I do that frequently. I'll call up distributor friends of mine and ask them, what do you think this talent is worth? Yeah, is it gonna be enough for the budget? So
yeah, and I think that was interesting. A lot of filmmakers approach it from the story first and go forward, and financiers approach it like a business. They reverse engineer it. So, like, even if you just hear him just said, he said, "Is the talent worth what? Are we going to get enough from having that talent there?" If there's someone says The Rock is going to be in this film, they're like, "Yes, here's my check." Right. If it's another talent, you might say, "Well, what have they done before? How much money has that film made? What is the average audience they pulled? How many theaters did it show in?" Yeah, okay. Then they'll say this actor is worth about probably $1.25 million to $2 million if we use him. This actor will pull in about $3 million. Okay, that's going to make us X amount. So you reverse engineer from the back to like, okay, we have a script. This is the people, the team. Now let's see. We go boop to the end.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the script, because the script is usually the last piece of the puzzle, because
clearly sometimes
a lot of times you're just going off the pitch deck. You're going off, and so you're going off the concept, and then you'll, as part of development, you'll hire a script writer, somebody that's known to actually go through the script and make it bankable, make it so that you can actually it can be performed on screen, because a lot of these screenwriters, they're good writers, but they don't have the savvy to put the script in bankable, performable format. So that's part of development. Like, so sometimes you can get, I've done deals where, development deals too, where you can get 30 or 50 grand from an investor, and they'll put it in, and that's what they do. They'll get the script written nicely, covered. They'll hire a casting director to get a talent to put a letter of intent in, and then they can get that kind of gets the ball rolling, and then everyone starts jumping on board. Because if you get a name and you got a great script, then you can you get the sales agent with this casting director. They can do the foreign pre-sale, and then boom, all the pieces start to come in place. So development deals are good. They're good deals. Like, as an investor, sometimes they're really good deals, because they're also usually guaranteed. The development deal, like, you get the money back first plus 20% or something like that. So
that's the same with P&A. Is the print and advertising at the end is last money in, first money out. That's like
correct.
The ideal investment. Like, every investor wants that, the sexy Hollywood, but I get like last money in, first money done. Like, give it to me. So
now, Rob, correct. I met you and knew you originally as, like you said, the voiceover attorney. But you do all kinds of entertainment law. I also do, some music publishing and video production and so forth. And, you've helped me out with voiceover contracts, but you've also helped me out with people requesting licensing from my music, all kinds of things like that. How important is it as a creative, whether you're voiceover, a director, somebody involved in music, to get an attorney to review those contracts before you just sign on the dotted line? Like, you helped me get better rates and so forth for things that I didn't even know. And there's this chasm between the creative mind and the business mind. So can you just talk about the importance of, no matter what area of entertainment you're in, get someone to review that contract?
I mean, the advice I give is, if you don't understand, if you haven't done it, if you haven't done things before and you don't understand all the nuances, then you should get someone to just hire someone to do it, whether it be an agent or an attorney. Looking at contracts, if it's a contract if it's your contract that you wrote it and you use it all the time, obviously you don't need an attorney to look at it every time. But if someone were to walk in the door and say, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to license a song, right? What's it going to hurt to send to an attorney just to make sure that it's fair market value? You can get the most you're going to get. The contract is okay. It's not most of the time when you're getting an attorney involved, the attorney's going to pay for themselves most of the time. Even if they're sending over a contract like for AI, artificial intelligence, and you're just trying to like, should I sign this thing? I've never seen this before. Should I sign this? The attorney can save you lots of money. Even if you're paying the attorney to have them say, don't sign that, they're saving you lots of money because there's a reason why. Like, because me as an attorney, my goal is not to kill the deal. It's not to say, don't do that. It's, don't do this under any circumstances. My goal is to make you guys, my clients, make money and, protect themselves at the same time. Like, that's my goal. So I don't want to kill deals. I want to do whatever I can to have the deal go through while at the same time making sure it's fair. That's the whole goal. So
especially with AI now, and so many considerations about those like AI banks or whatever, where they're just taking a lot of voiceover talent and they're recording sessions of audio and then they're using that for AI, huge AI banks. And I mean, that's like a thing that you definitely want an attorney. I think today, especially if someone approaches you to do anything involving AI, you should definitely talk to an attorney, because the ramifications of, like, if they're using your voice to do AI and it sounds like you, doesn't that mean eventually you're competing against yourself?
Yes. And you also worked with Bev Standing, who we hope to have on in the future to talk about the whole TikTok issue. But you represented Bev in that. What can you tell us about that case and the ramifications for voice actors with, how that all went along?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so Bev is kind of an example of why you want to go to an attorney and what all these issues are. So, and the other thing Bev is an example of is how AI is changing and been changing and evolving. So she had done a job for a company that said they were representing the Institute for Research in China. And they had said that they wanted her to record, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 lines, whatever. I forget what it was exactly specifically, but it was supposed to be used for translation. Like, that was what they told her specifically. The use was. So, there wasn't even a contract. They didn't even have her sign anything. It was all by email. So she, records them, gets paid. Next thing she's her voice is the voice of text to speech on TikTok. And she's like, wow, I only did one AI job. So this is where it had to come from. So that's where it came from. We were able to backtrack it, and those files came from that job. And so that was a ruse, in my opinion. This is my personal opinion. It was a ruse because TikTok paid for those files. So those guys were just selling her files. I don't know where else they sold them. Hopefully this is the only place they sold them. But, TikTok actually paid that company that recorded her for her files. And they were able to use that to do the text to speech. So, she brought a lawsuit, and I filed it in Southern District of New York because ByteDance is the owner of TikTok, and they just opened a huge headquarters right in Times Square. So
that was very nice of him to do that for you.
Jurisdiction. So.
Well, thank you.
And we ended up resolving it. So it was resolved amicably. Both parties, both sides agreed. TikTok was like, well, we didn't do this on purpose. We bought these files, and we didn't know that your client didn't give permission. So they were surprised there was no contract signed, just like I was. So those were done like in 2018, 2019. So that was kind of like the beginning of all these voice banks that popped up. Now all the big ones.
Back then, they still sounded like AI, like, hello, I am John. But now today, I like some of them you can't even tell hardly.
Right. And the thing is, see, that's that's the computer that's putting the files together. So that technology is what's getting better. So you don't even have to re-record. Like you can use those same files that Bev recorded back in 2018 and give them to another AI generator, and it sounds better now. Like it sounds more human, and it's getting really, really, like in a couple of years, if the technology keeps advancing the way that it is, you won't be able to tell. There'll be no way that, I mean, you could go on online and search it, and you can see like trailers that are being done and things like that, and you cannot.
Right.
You really have to have a really good ear to be able to tell that it's computer generated versus recorded live.
There is a benefit to this for you voiceover guys. You do one job and you can get paid for the rest of your life. The AI
Correct.
just creates all your work for you.
Well, that's right. So there's actually two camps. There's two camps.
Voiceover sounds very good to me right now.
Yeah, there's two camps of AI that's going on right now. So all the big companies have these banks. So Amazon, Google,
Microsoft,
Apple, Microsoft.
What's their Azure?
Yep,
I think they have one.
Yep. And I had a case with them too.
Really? What was that?
Yeah, so it was a very similar case where a client in the UK had recorded. She knew that it was for Microsoft, and in the contract it said they wouldn't distribute her voice commercially. So it ended up on Azure, or whatever you say, however you call it.
I don't know. Yeah.
And she's like, "What's going on?" So I got involved. I didn't have to sue, but I sent a cease and desist, and we found out that the company that had recorded the client out in the UK, Microsoft had actually sent money and a release to them. It was supposed to go to the client that never went to the client.
Oh, so you found out where the there's the problem.
So Microsoft, they settled with her too. We were able to resolve it, but
it just makes sense for them, because I think it's something they don't want to mess with, especially since they deal in IP. So
right, and plus it was right in the contract. Like that was an easy one. It was right.
Yeah, that was a slam dunk one. Yeah.
So, but those, so there's two. So Azure they'll actually lease out their voices to some of these banks. So, like Speechalo, they get their voices from Amazon. So,
really?
I don't. Do you guys remember like a year or two ago, like people were these big companies were just offering like $50 gift cards for people to come in and record a bunch of lines. Yeah. So just people off the street. So that was this kind of the second phase after when Bev recorded her stuff. You had this phase where all these big companies were recording, and that's what they were doing. So then they figured out, well, these people can't really read scripts, so when it gets pieced together, it wasn't sounding good. So that's when they decided to go where they are now, and they're paying voiceover talent, $2,000 to $5,000.
But that's not a lot, though. If they're going to use it, because they could technically, in the 10 years from now, they could still be using your voice and making money off of it. So
correct, right?
So you do royalties, I guess. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, there's two camps. So you still have the camps of companies out there that are just paying you $2,000 to $5,000, taking in perpetuity and ownership in perpetuity of your work, so it can go anywhere at any time. That's one camp. The other camp, some of them aren't even paying; they're just having you record pro bono. But then they'll market your cloned voice that you still own, and anything that's booked, you're gonna have some kind of royalty arrangement. So that's the good camp, for voiceover talent, because that's where you can use your cloned voice to make to record scripts and make money for you while you've already done the work.
Think about it, your family too. Imagine the trailer guy.
Yep.
He passes away, and then his kids get if they own the rights to his voice, then technically 100 years from now, these kids could be making money off of his voice.
Exactly. Right. So those are the ones that I'm recommending that if talent are going to sign up for. There's a few companies out there that are doing it. Those are the ones I'm saying, that's the right now, because Lord knows what's going to happen. This is evolving so fast. I don't know how it's going to change, but for if you're going to get some kind of piece of the action, that's a way to make money with your voice without. I mean, you're still technically competing against yourself, but it's fine because you're still going to end up with money.
Yeah, well, and you still have your voice, and if it depends, like if there's dramatical reads or different things, does it even do the inflections, the drama, the like in a world where you?
Yes,
it's like,
it does.
Oh
So now so here's where the technology is right now, and I've been following this now because for obvious reasons. So the technology is Val Kilmer had throat cancer.
Yes.
Couldn't speak. So they went through all his films and got the soundtracks and they created his voice. So now he speaks through an AI voice with his own voice.
Are you serious? That's
so
wild.
you don't even need we're recording this right now, right? So they can the company can go pull these files off of here and get your voice print, and they can create an AI voice with these files. So
that's incredible. So how would you protect something like that? I wonder if someone decides to go back through all of our stuff and just use my voice. I'm not a voiceover guy. I don't have an attorney. I'm just talking.
Well, that's the problem, and that there's legislation that's going through right now to try to protect that. And there's an ethics board for AI, an ethics panel. It's not a panel, an association that's been started to come up with moral and ethical uses of AI voices. So that's one of the topics of discussion. So
yeah, and it almost should be like a crime if you use it to commit a crime.
Yep.
Use someone's voice. And that. Do you think that ends up being a Supreme Court issue, or is that something that can get settled in lower courts? You think?
I think that should be that's something that's one of these rare issues that where the legislator can all agree on and
and just do it and not have to go to court. Please.
Because that that's why they have these associations that pop up, because then they just make recommendations, and then it's not a constitutional issue or anything like that where it gets hotly debated. It's something that can just go get passed. Just
nice.
Just a matter of somebody actually pushing it to make sure that it gets on top of the pile. So
can a voice actor, because I know I've been receiving these emails, and they want you to do different styles like we were talking about. So you have a voice print for each one of your styles, like a trailer read or for a conversational. Yep. What about voice actors? Are they able to join more than one voice bank?
Yes.
And okay, so you could do multiple voice banks. And that being said, what are some of the things to look out for a voice actor? And when should they, if they don't understand something, get an attorney or somebody to look at the contract? Because obviously this isn't going anywhere. And there's going to be all kinds of rates and terms and all these things that are thrown at voice actors.
Yeah, now. And non-compete. Make sure you don't sign that.
Well, so this is what I've seen. This is, again, there's a couple of camps that I've seen on this issue. So, reading things on Facebook and stuff like that. So I see some voice actors that are actually like, yay for AI. I've recorded 20 of these for $5,000 a piece, and I'm cashing in. Woohoo! Mm-hmm. So, okay, that's great. You're gonna make what, 5,000 times 20? What is that? You're gonna make that now, but then that's career suicide. Your career's done, because no one's ever gonna use your voice, because you're gonna have 20 different sets of voice prints out there somewhere, and they'll be able to get your voice anywhere they want. Why would they ever call you ever again, right? So that's one camp. So there's talent out there thinking, 2,000 or 5,000 is a lot of money per job. And so they're doing as many as they can and selling off the files, the ownership in perpetuity.
So like one and done. And I guess if you only want to do voiceover for a year, then
if you're going to do 10 or 20 of those jobs, because there's lots of them out there, right?
And then you're done. Like, I'm going to do something else.
So then you have the other camp that I was talking about before. And what they normally do is they'll say that, it may be a pro bono. So you may record the lines pro bono, or they may pay, a couple of grand, whatever. Right. But what they say is that you can only do your files for them for like a year or 2 years, because they're gonna actively help market the voice too, so that they can it can become a viable commercial enterprise, and then you'll be able to make contracts with all those people that want to use your cloned voice for whatever commercials or trailers or whatever it is.
Sort of like Getty Images, but for your voice.
Right, except it's better than Getty Images because you'll get royalties, where Getty Images,
Nice.
you just
You
when
don't.
they
Yeah.
if they just take your stock photo, you get paid one time. So
Yep.
it's actually exactly the same thing, because that's the debate that's been going on for a long time in acting, is that should you do stock photography or not? Stock photography, you go in, they pay you for the day, a decent wage, but then that photo can be used for all different companies. They just go to the stock photos, and if you end up in a huge national campaign with your little stock photo, you don't get paid anything more. This is the same thing. So it's, if you do the ones where you're just recording your voice files and selling them for in perpetuity for a couple grand, and someone uses it in the future, you're done. You have no recourse. It's like a stock photo situation. So it's stock vocal. So
Stock vocal.
Is
yeah.
there a potential legal pitfall? Because right now I know that, sometimes if you've recorded for a certain product or company, there's a conflict and you cannot record for another company if that's specified in the contract in the same arena. Now with these AI voices, how do they deal with conflicts, and who's responsible for the voice being used in these different areas?
Messy.
That's going to be another issue. So that's going to be up to that would be one of the reasons why I argue that I don't know if this is going to play out, but I would argue that live talent is going to stay around for a while, because that's the only way that the advertisers have real control over their voice, over for their product, is they hire someone live and they lock them up, right? Because there's really no way how you going to police. I don't know how you police that at all. Like if you're going to be and in fact, when in my discussions with Microsoft, they told me that those big national campaigns, they don't use their voices not being used for that at all. Like they're the big campaigns, they're still, that's what they're concerned about, is the exclusivity and the branding, and so they're not using those computer generated voices for those things now. So
yet
until you have to figure out a way to address that concern for it to happen. So
gets better. What about again, like I do live voiceover, but if I were to be on a voice bank, is that something you should have in the contract, that what projects your voice is going to be used on? Because I could unknowingly have an AI do this company that I have no idea, and then I've signed a contract with another company to do my live voiceover. It's a
non-compete,
right?
And then you're for like a buyout.
The contracts normally would say that the what I propose and what I see in these the good camp, like,
right.
The ones where they don't own your voice. You own the actual cloned voice. It's yours. So after the contract expires, it's yours. You keep it. You can go market it to other companies. But what it normally says in there too is that if they're going to make a contract with a third party company for commercial purposes, that you have the right to negotiate the terms.
Okay.
So if it says it in there, then if so Coca-Cola comes and they want to use your cloned voice, and you already have a contract with Pepsi, you could go in there and say, no, I can't sign this contract. It's a conflict, right? So that's a way to control it now.
Okay. So that's something important to look out for if you're signing up with a voice bank, that you have the knowledge and approval of whether to use the voice on this certain project.
Well, then you might have the Napster effect, where if your voice is out there as a recording, it could be used by another bank in another country who uses it, who then uses it, and it might never be able to track back where the original came from, because.
Well, it's the files. Like they wouldn't be able to. Another bank wouldn't be able to use the files that you gave to voice bank. Like let's just say voice bank A and voice bank B, right? So if you give files to voice bank A, then their computer has their algorithm, and they're the ones that generates the actual final product, the final read, right? So voice bank B
doesn't have
unless they have the original files.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Right. And they're all
Okay.
different. Like they have slightly different algorithms anyway. Like that's the difference between the companies now. They have slightly different ways that they put the voices together, so that some are better than others as far as the nuances and the emotions and the, you know, so it sounds like real speech. Some companies' algorithms are better than others. So, I mean, they're all eventually they're all going to get to the same place. But you know, right now that's what the big experiment is. You know, how they can get it to sound really good. I don't know if you guys saw the TikTok the other day about with the robot. Did you see the one with the robot with the
No.
facial expressions?
Oh, yes,
See-
yes.
No. A
See if you can
robot with
find it.
facial expressions?
Yeah, it was scary.
Really?
Agree, Cam? I was
Mhm.
spooked.
Yeah, it's uncanny.
What does it do?
It's
Does
like,
it make?
yeah,
Does it look
It
like
makes
your face?
facial expressions.
facial
Yeah,
expressions.
yeah.
Are you serious?
It's a gray robot face, you know, but it makes all the facial expressions. So all they have to do is like put some fake
Skin on it. That's why they didn't put skin on it probably yet. They're like easing you into it. Like
Probably.
for a while, it's just a gray robot. It's like, no, it's like they're outside the window looking in your window at night
Right.
and it's making facial expressions at you.
I mean, but if they could do that with a real robot, they could obviously do it with the voice
Wow.
files. Like that's where it's going. So
That's
Okay.
incredible. They're all merging. The tech it's it's scary and it's exciting. It's like the future that you've always been playing, like you've read books about, but it's today. And there's a huge ethical questions, and I'm really excited that you're involved in this process because even in terms of artificial intelligence, a car drive, like for example, a car that self-drives, if there's two people in the street, I can make a decision if there's, a middle-aged person or a kid, I can choose. If I have no choice, I can choose. I can swerve. Who makes those decisions? The moral and ethical decisions behind AI, behind robotics, behind voiceover use, and who is deciding that and where that conversation is happening? Is it happening in America, in a free country? Is it happening in other countries where it's more controlled? I think who is making those decisions determines the outcome of humanity for the next, who knows, a foreseeable future.
yeah, no, I mean those are all unknown questions.
Yeah, and that
Yeah,
seems
I
like something
agree.
we should know because it's like lemmings, all the lemmings run to the edge of the cliff and just jump off. You get the one lemming that stops and is like, maybe we should go the other way, or maybe we should talk about this before we all just go run off this cliff together.
I mean, the answer to your question now is it depends on the company that's developing it. That's the ones that are making the
Exactly.
decisions. But
And that's
you know,
scary.
who knows who those people are? That's what I'm saying. Like we don't know who are behind the curtain. Like we
No,
don't
and
know
there'd
who-
be like shell companies, a parent company who has a company, and some dude in Liechtenstein who's actually like,
right. Yeah, we don't know.
We're running up against time. Can you join us for a part 2 of
Sure.
this episode? That would be great. So we'll put
Awesome.
you back in the green room. Jason and I will wrap up, and then we'll go and do part 2. So we'll see you in a bit. Wow.
Man, I know a lot of stuff there to talk
I
about.
know.
It's really exciting because most people, you don't get an opportunity to talk to an attorney unless you pay
Right.
because the time's valuable. And the fact that Robert's come on and is sharing some of the time
this
and
is
giving insight into it, you're not
great
going to get
stuff.
that anywhere else. I know.
Yeah, very, very enlightening, and so much more to ask. And because entertainment's, as you said, I'll quote you, entertainment, there's so much of it.
There's so much of it. I did say there's so much
There's
of
so
it.
much of it. So it's very,
Entertainment.
very important. We're going to cover more next week. Very insightful this week. So we do want you to check out. We have a merch store now. So there's some Entertainment Dudes merch, and we have the logo with like both our heads, but we also have the logo without our heads. So in case
Yeah,
you just don't
the
want to be
just the
wearing
body. If you're like
too big,
dudes on your shirt,
too
it's
big
just
dudes
our
on your shirt.
bodies.
Right.
I mean,
So-
and look at Cam's body too. If you're gonna be proud to wear that body on your shirt. I mean, look at that. If I was wearing pants today, I'd do the same thing. But I thought I was like, I wore pants. Oh, no, I didn't. I didn't do that today. Shoot.
So Rob Sciglimpaglia will be joining us again for
Next
the
week.
next episode, and we'll talk more about entertainment law, and we'll get into Rob's acting career as well.
Because I got some great
yes.
questions about some acting questions. I do have one very, very important legal question to start it off with. You won't
Okay.
want to miss that, so stay tuned
All
next
right.
week. Entertainment
This
Dudes.
has been another episode of Entertainment Dudes. We'll see ya.
See ya.